In my younger days, I was so obsessed with clothes, jewelry, shoes, and it kind of got a little out of control until I found a little thing called budgeting. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you an action plan about budgeting, what you can do, what you can incorporate into your life right now so you can improve your lifestyle and save a whole lot of money. What's up? I'm Brandon Young, and on this channel, I teach you how to make, save, and invest money. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and don't forget to hit that bell so you don't miss a beat. Now, I was given the opportunity to speak for an organization called Invest in Me, so we're gonna get this video started. Check it out.
Hi, all. My name is Carmen Zochiku, and I will be co-hosting with L'Oreal, and will help field questions throughout this meeting. If you are on a computer or tablet, you can select the speaker view and change to gallery view in the top right corner of your screen if you would like to see everyone on the call. Please note that your mics are muted to give our guests a clear line to discuss the topic today. Please use the chat feature or hold questions until we open the lines for the Q&A session. This meeting's Q&A sessions will be broken into two parts, one for each topic, and we will discuss and closing questions. If you have any questions during the speaker session, please submit them via chat. You also have the option of sending questions directly to the speaker should you choose not to ask the question in open chat. Also, be sure to grab your paper and pen to take notes along the way. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Brandon Young. He is our guest speaker for today. And welcome, Brandon. We're super excited to have you here. Take it away.
Thank you. Glad to be here, guys. So today we're going to be talking about budgeting 101. Few points of this presentation. First, we're going to go into what is a budget. Secondly, we're going to go about setting up a budget, what it takes, what information you need to actually set up a budget. Third, we're going to talk about designing a budget. So what kind of applications that you can have on deck to get started with setting up your budget. And lastly, how to put your plans into action. A little introduction about myself. So by day, I'm currently a computer engineer. Kind of long term, I know that's not what I want to be, but how I got started talking about money was I just felt like there was a need for it. In school, you don't really learn about money that often, and oftentimes we're just taught how to be workers. I never had anybody teach me how to be an entrepreneur, how to invest, how to get into stocks, any of that. So I thought it would be a good outlet to teach people about money, because I definitely know that it's needed. And I know a lot of people want to get into it, but they don't have the right, I guess, outlet or the right information. So I wanted to be that person to give that information. I do have a YouTube channel that speaks about money, so be sure to go ahead and check that out. I'm also a real estate investor, so I was able to buy my first property this year, and I plan to buy at least one or two every single year. And I am also a startup investor, so I invest in pre-IPO companies before they hit the stock market. So to get us started off for today, I want to start you guys off with a quote by one of my favorite investors, Warren Buffett. And this quote is, "Someone is sitting in the shade today because someone planted a tree a long time ago." Which in layman terms basically just means they put a plan in place, and that plan, they executed it, and the plan worked out, and their family, their kids, their great grandchildren was able to reap the benefits of what they did a long time ago. So you essentially having a budget can help you do that and create something for your kids and your kids' kids. So just keep that in mind. Now, I thought I would start off with something a little fun. So just gonna talk about a little story time, my days before I started actually budgeting. So before I actually started budgeting, I was kind of that guy that I would use my paycheck, I would use my allowance on anything like related to sneakers, shoes, all that. I would spend it all. Movies, going out to eat. I was that guy. Every single time I got allowance, anytime I got my paycheck from work, I was always on Foot Locker just trying to see what the latest release was going to be. And I was just out there buying sneakers. But as you know, when you get older, when you start to hit college, when you start to get a little older, you start to have to pay your own bills. You can't really do that. So when you start to take a deeper look at your finances, you start to realize these things, I mean, they look nice. You're gonna get looks from everybody like, I like his fit, it looks good. But long term, you start to realize like these things aren't going to make your life worthwhile. These things aren't going to help better yourself. They're just there for the moment. So you start to actually think, do I actually need these things? Do they actually really make me successful? Do they take me to the next level that I want to be? And I kind of started having that self-actualization that buying these Jordans, buying these shoes, they're not actually helping my life. They're not making me a better person. They're not helping me to get my first property. They're not helping me to invest more. You know, I'm just kind of in that rat race doing everything over and over again. I'm just getting my paycheck. My paycheck is going towards making these other people rich. And I'm right back there at the start again. So that's when I had to decide this isn't the way to go. And I had to get out that mindset that buying these things that don't make my life better was a no-no. So first thing I like to say is a lot of people, they aren't broke at all. It's not that you lack money. Your money does not have a place to go. Your money needs an actual place to be parked. And if you don't give your money an actual place or something to do, it's just gonna be spent, and then you're gonna look at your bank statement like, where did my money go? Where is it? So that's the kind of thinking that you wanna switch towards. So to get started, what actually is a budget? So a budget is a financial plan for a defined period, often 1 year. It may also include planned sales volumes and revenues, resource quantities, costs, expenses, assets, liabilities, and cash flows. This is all just a fancy way of saying a budget is just a plan with your money, so you exactly know where to put your money, where is your money going on a monthly basis. That's all that's pretty much saying. You're going to have to get very descriptive of where your money is actually going, what type of things you have to pay for on a daily basis. But as you know, your money just needs a place to go. And once you can figure that out, things will look up for you. So what can you use budgeting to accomplish? So I know a lot of you want that nice new car. Eventually, you may want to get a home. You might have some different type of goals depending on what type of person you are. Some of you may want to start getting into investing. Some of you may want to pay for school. I know a lot of you want to go to Hawaii, Peru, Greece for vacations, and you can also use it for an emergency fund. Now, we're going to go into how do you set up a budget. So the first thing that you need to do, you need to set some realistic goals. So you need to define your goals that will make smart spending habits. And you also need to try to define what you want your finances to look like in 1 year. So oftentimes I speak to people and I ask them, what is your goals? What are you trying to accomplish in the next year financially? And they often don't even have like an answer for me. They don't know what they want to do. Listen, if you can find a clear goal or a clear path of where you want your money to go, maybe you're trying to save up for that car you always wanted. You know, it can be something small, it can be something large. But as long as you have something that you're aiming towards, then you can know where to exactly allocate your money so you can save for that particular goal. So you need to decide what's important. So what is the most important goal of your life? Maybe short term for a year, 5 years, 10 years, and you need to start there. Next thing you need to do, you need to identify your income and your expenses. So how much do you actually make a month? What I want you guys to do, I need you to take out a piece of paper and you need to write exactly how much. This is like the simplest thing that you can do because a lot of people think they know how much they make. But when you actually sit down and you take a piece of paper and you can write down exactly all your different types of income. So this can be from your job. This can be from side hustles. This can be from investments. This can be for many businesses that you may have. there's a lot of different types of income. So when you can write that down and you know exactly how much you bring in every single month, and even if it's not the same amount every single month, at least you'll have a better understanding of how much you're bringing in. Then you want to see, okay, where does this money go on a monthly basis? So I need you to open up that Chase app, take a look at it, and look at your bank statements and see what are you spending your money on a daily basis. Because it's gonna surprise you. Like, I spent $30 on a pair of slippers. Like, open up your app, take a look, see exactly what you're spending your money on, and you can be like, oh wow, why am I spending money on this? Maybe I can cut back on this. I don't need to spend money on this every single month. Or maybe there's some subscriptions that you may be using that you maybe forgot that you're subscribed to. And you're like, oh, okay, I forgot I even had this. Then you can unsubscribe, save a little money there. You know, find out by tracking your spending for a week or so. So I would actually bump that up to a month, and you want to write down everything that is coming out your account. And you will, honestly, when I did it for the first time, I was truly surprised, because I was like, man, I literally have about $225 coming out of my paycheck almost every month, and it's to things that I didn't even know I was subscribed to. So take a look at that, and you'll be surprised at the amount of things that you have. And the next thing that you want to do is you want to separate the wants from needs. So take a look at that list that you just wrote and ask yourself, do I really need this? You see, a lot of people feel like they realistically need designer clothes, they need sneakers, all these different things, but these are not necessities. You do not need them. They do look nice, but at the end of the day, you don't need these things. So just take a look at all the things that you're buying on a daily basis and just try to categorize, are these things that actually I need to survive? Like, honestly, people want to go on vacations, but do you really need it? All right, you probably do need vacation, you know, to lay back and stay cool. But no, take a look at what you're actually spending your money on and decide, is it something that I really need? And you just want to ask yourself, does this get me closer to my financial goals? So you may be spending $400 on a pair of shoes. Is that helping you with your goal to invest more? Is that helping you with your goal to buy that car that you always wanted? Probably not. So you got to take a look and see if these things are making our lives a little better. So we have our first Q&A breakout. Do we have any questions in the middle of this presentation?
Hi guys, just a reminder, if you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat area. As of right now, we don't have any questions, but just in case anybody does, we're going to go ahead and give you some time to write some in there.
We have one question from Cindy, and she asked, do you suggest we start off paying our debt by the small expenses or the large expenses? Good question, Cindy. I would say that you should try to start off with smaller expenses, because a lot of times when you're looking at the larger expenses, you're like, oh man, this is a whole mountain. And you kind of get discouraged when you're trying to pay off those larger expenses. But it may be if you have a debt that's $250, $300 that seems more manageable. So when you can go ahead and conquer that debt, you're like, okay, I could go ahead and try to conquer these bigger debts. So oftentimes conquering the smaller expenses can help you gain that motivation to go against the larger expenses. So I would say the smaller expenses. And then also any money that you are using to pay for the smaller expenses, after you finish paying those smaller expenses, now you can go ahead and have more money to attack the larger expenses. So then again, you can pay for those quickly. So good question, Cindy.
We do have a question from Miss Mary, and she asks, do you recommend paying yourself with every paycheck?
Good question, Miss Mary. Yeah, you definitely should pay yourself every paycheck. You do want to also make sure that you are allocating money for your bills, emergency funds, savings, all your expenses and stuff. But you also want to make sure you have a little something for yourself. So I do recommend that you pay yourself every paycheck, but also Like, you have to just make sure that you have enough money to do so. So if, let's say, your expenses kind of outweigh what you're getting paid, one, I would kind of look for another job so you can increase the amount of money that you're bringing in, or you want to look for a side hustle that you could potentially make more money. So ultimately, paying yourself won't be that hard. But I'm going by my own philosophy. Like, I try to make sure all my debts are paid first. Then I try to make sure that I have some money to go into my emergency fund, my savings, some of my investment accounts, and then anything that is left over, then I'll pay myself. But I know a lot of people's budget may be different. So a lot of times that order may be different. So let's keep that up. So we will go into the next slide. So the next thing I want to talk about is actually designing your budget. So in 2020, there are so many applications out there that you can use to design a budget. Honestly, it doesn't really matter which one you use, because ultimately they all serve the same purpose, which is to help you to budget. That is the end goal. So a couple of them that we have Every Dollar. So I personally use that. That's by somebody named Dave Ramsey. He's basically a financial advisor. He also has a television show, if you want to go ahead and watch that. It offers some good financial advice. We have YNAB, which is You Need a Budget. They have Good Budget, they have Mint, and you can use something as simple as Microsoft Excel, or you can use Google Sheets. Any of these are great resources towards creating a budget for yourself. Honestly, the only difference between having one like Excel or using one like Every Dollar is basically the visual aspect and looking at the aesthetic. Like, Excel is just sheets. I mean, little columns that you can put your numbers in. But Every Dollar is going to create a pie chart showing you, okay, you got your expenses, the money that's coming in. So it just basically makes it look more pretty. But ultimately, they do the same thing. So I would recommend any of these as long as you get started with actually having a budget. So how do you put your plans into action? The first thing that you need to do is you need to match your spending to when you receive your income. So a lot of times when we receive our income, like, that's why I said it's important for you to write down how much money you have coming in. If you're making $500 a week, but you're spending $800, that money isn't matching up your spending habits. So ultimately, you're always going to be in debt because the money that you're bringing in, you're spending more than that. That's a no-no. So you want to make sure that every single dollar that you have coming in on a daily basis is allocated to a certain goal. It's achieving something, but you don't want to go over that budget. So if you're only making $500 every single week, only that $500 should be allocated towards a certain purpose. You shouldn't be over allocating money that you don't have, because then that's going to over leverage yourself and you're going to end up in debt. You don't want that. Second step is you need to decide what you're using your check for beforehand so your money has a purpose. So this is why a budget is important, because when you can lay out what exactly you need to pay for, what debts you have, how much money you want to put into investments, how much money you want to put into your emergency fund, and then you know exactly how much income you're bringing in on a daily basis, now you can park those dollars in those specific spots, and they all have a job to do. Next step is that you want to put aside money for debt, unexpected expenses, and savings. So ultimately, a lot of people don't allocate for an emergency fund. They don't put money into savings. There is about 66 to 75% of people don't have more than $1,000 in their savings account, or they don't have more than $1,000 saved. That's pretty crazy to know that people don't have $1,000 saved up entirely to do anything, not even for emergencies or anything, just in its entirety. They don't have $1,000 saved. So you want to be sure that any money that you're bringing in, you have an emergency fund, you're putting it into savings, and you just have money put aside for a rainy day, just in case maybe your car might break down or maybe something might go on at your house, that you're not, oh my gosh, I have to take out a loan, or oh, I got to do a payday loan or something like that to pay this off, and this is going to just put you further in debt and get you farther away from your financial prosperity. So you want to keep that in mind. Fourth step is, I want you to take a look at step 3 again, because this is honestly one of the most important parts of this action plan, because having money set aside for a rainy day and emergency fund, man, people don't expect bad things to happen to them, but when they do, it's pretty terrible. So you just want to be prepared for that. You don't want to be going through life day by day wondering, okay, oh man, if this happens to me, I'm going to be in financial ruin. You want to be prepared for it. So when it happens, you're like, okay, I got some money set aside, so I'm all right. So some seasonal expenses that may not come up in your actual budget right now, but they may come up seasonally, are some annual memberships. So maybe you pay a gym membership on a yearly basis. That is a seasonal expense. School expenses, you may pay that once a year. Some union dues, so maybe you're a part of a union and you need to pay that once a year to stay a part of that union. Vacations, it's kind of an expense. Sometimes you want to go on a vacation. It's something that you do once a year, so you want to be prepared for those. Holidays, Christmas, Thanksgiving, all these different holidays are a seasonal expense that you want to be prepared for. Tax prep fees, you know, tax man needs to get paid on a daily basis. You need to be able to go to the tax office and pay those fees. Those usually come seasonally. And home maintenance. So these might include snow plowing in the winter, or maybe raking leaves, or maybe you own a building or something like that, and you have boiler repair or stuff like that done on a yearly basis. These are seasonal expenses that you need to look out. Then we have looking ahead. So first things first, budgeting. Let's face it, if you are new to this budgeting game, getting on track with your budget, it can take a while. This is not something that is going to happen overnight where you're just going to do it one time and then things are just going to turn around. This is something that you have to continually do day after day, month after month, until you get used to it and you start to see your finances make a huge change. And oftentimes they say it's 66 days to create a new habit. So you got to stay with it. You know, this is the average, but not everybody is like this. It may take you 5 months. It may take somebody 1 month. You just got to stick with it. You got to keep doing it. But over time, once you stay with this budget and you can stay with it, you're going to save a lot of money. You're going to have money allocated to a certain purpose, and whatever goals you're trying to achieve, they're going to be way easier to achieve because now you have a plan on how to achieve them. Lastly, you need to give yourself some time to adjust to your new plan. And once you're able to do that, the sky's the limit. All right, so we have our last Q&A breakout, and I do see a question in there from Carmen. So Carmen asks, what would you suggest for people who may be a little timid when it comes to working with numbers, or are fearful of setting a budget and messing it up? Well, that's the thing. As long as you're trying to get started with it, you know, people are going to make mistakes, especially when you're learning something new. But oftentimes people don't take the chance to actually try it. They're just very fearful of messing up. But honestly, messing up is one of the best things that you can do, because the faster you mess up is the faster you can learn from your mistakes and you can get better. So honestly, you need to just jump into it and try, mess up, get better, and then you'll continually keep getting better. And before you know it, you're going to be a budget whiz. I promise you. But you got to get started. You got to try. That's the biggest thing I can honestly say. All right. So just want to thank you guys for taking the opportunity to let me present. So I did mention that I am on YouTube. And on YouTube, I do teach you how to make, save, and invest money and how to be more successful. So definitely go ahead, check me out on youtube.com/Brandon Young. If you want to send me a personal email with a question or an inquiry, you can email me at brandonyoung0824@gmail.com, as well as I do post some content on Instagram as well. So you can go check that out. My handle is I'm Brandon Young. And yeah, thank you for the opportunity to present.
We just want to thank Brandon again for taking the time out, to teach us some basic 101 about budgeting and saving. If anybody has any additional questions, we're going to just wait around a little bit and you can just drop it in the chat. Any questions about budgeting, any futuristic questions on how you could probably get in contact with him, anything you'd like to ask, feel free to drop it in the chat. Okay, we do have a question. Well, we have more of a review. And Weed Kimbrough said this was helpful to review some of the things that we should know. So thank you.
Very welcome, and glad to be of assistance.
So once again, we just want to go ahead and thank Brandon Young for taking the opportunity to speak with us. And hopefully everyone found this to be very helpful and insightful. If you have any questions that you were a little bit too shy to ask, or you didn't think of until later on, feel free to reach out and we can get that information over to you. So I'd like to toss things over to Miss Mary, who will give the closing remark.
Good evening, and thank you again, Brandon, so much for sharing that wealth of information and which you have imparted on each of us today. I want to thank all of you who have joined us, who have continuously supported us over the last couple of months. We really appreciate all that you have done in your support. We thank you for spreading the word, getting others engaged as we continue to help everyone by imparting knowledge related to finance, investing, home buying, and other things that can help them to not only improve, but to go forward. Like we came into the epidemic, we said we're going to come into the epidemic, but we're going to go out stronger and more powerful than when we came in. So once again, thank you all for your support, and thank you, Brandon, and your contribution in helping others to achieve.
Glad to help.
Now, if you're still here with me, thank you so much for getting to the end of this video. Be sure to go and watch this video, go subscribe there. I'm Brandon Young. I'll see you in my next video. Peace.